Hey, Alan, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Hey, Brian, thanks very much for having me. Really kind of just a simple guy out of Wisconsin who got the opportunity to move out to the East Coast. And, really where my story starts is with my dad, who's definitely my biggest motivation. And, he was a veterinarian and an early adopter of multi-site locations. And unfortunately picked up an allergy to cats and actually got carpal tunnel. So the worst things that can happen to a guy who's a veterinarian, and went into disability, which was kind of one of the coolest things for us as a family because we got these really neat vacations. But one thing was that I always saw how hard my dad worked, and I always knew I wanted to be like that. So from an early age, I was always really good at networking. So bartending for 9 years, making friends from all the other high schools and things of that nature. So after my dad's disability, he actually decided to go and do the Pharmacy Express program at UW-Madison. And along with that, when I was in college, I became an inpatient pharmacy technician. So that was in 2009, when pharma kind of took a big dive. And at that time, these reps were taking us out for dinners, these great steak dinners. And I thought to myself, hey, I can buy someone steak and teach them about my product. Maybe I'll do pharma sales. And, unfortunately for that area, things kind of took a dive, and went through college, graduated with marketing and finance at UW-Milwaukee, and actually went to go work for Wells Fargo Advisors. I was going to be a financial advisor. And one of my best friends at the time and college roommates, his father-in-law was actually a big VP at Henry Schein, where I work now. I work at Henry Schein Dental. And he said, I think you'd be really good at this job. Now, I didn't know anything about dentistry or anything like that. Never really imagined moving out of Wisconsin, but I got the opportunity to do it. They basically said you can move to anywhere in the U.S., and I picked New Jersey.
Beautiful New Jersey.
and people out here are like, New Jersey, huh? And of all places, I meet this guy, and he basically says, oh, you should move to Jersey City. And Jersey City is a pretty broad area, and I happen to move into one of the maybe not so nicer areas. So, when I moved out to Jersey, I didn't know anybody. So one of my biggest motivations was, hey, meet friends, network, find my way, and be successful. And above all of that, I had this, big motivation to be Rookie of the Year for Henry Schein.
Yeah.
And, Henry Schein's not a small company. It's a Fortune 200 company. And, that was a pretty big goal. Now, my first year at Henry Schein, I did grow my territory from 175,000 to 1.4 million, and ended up getting Rookie of the Year. So how I kind of pride myself on getting there was not knowing anyone out in the New Jersey market. My boss had actually at the time said, hey, you know what, I think you'd actually do really good in Manhattan. And when I went into Manhattan, I started making friends with a lot of the younger dentists who were associates or still in the residency. So that was really cool. And I also thought to myself, hey, I don't know much about dentistry, but, I'd like to learn. And how can I kind of grow with these other younger dentists? So I asked them what their 3 to 5 year plan was, and they all said, hey, I want to own my own practice. So I said, great. What do you know about that? And they were all like, nothing. Because, dental school doesn't teach
you business, right?
Business. They have that time of the year where they're like, I can either take an endo course or the business course. And they always choose the specialty elective because they want to be better in their profession.
Yeah.
So, I took a couple of the friends that I made who were dentists, and I said, hey, invite your friends. And I started this study club called the FYI Study Club. And you can find the social media aspect of the group on Facebook at the FYI Study Club NYC. There's about 1,200 members in there now. But I grew that that study club from 15 people to 25 to 35 to 55 to then I actually had 90 people in this study club at one point in the city. And I really think that I was one of, kind of the first people to adopt this business side of dentistry and attract another side besides just clinical. So at this point now, I'm 7 years in the business. Just last year I did about $7 million. I'm now, 5%, top 5% of the reps in the company. And, I really pride that on my motivation, my network skills, and, my drive to kind of want to get to the top. So that's kind of my story.
Well, let's take a step back, because that is brilliant. And I want to dig into that, but tell us what Henry Schein sells.
Yeah. So Henry Schein is a couple different divisions. They do have our medical side, right? We have our dental side that I'm in. And we used to have a veterinary side, which we kind of spun off a couple of years ago. But as far as on the dental side for what I sell, whenever my friends say, hey, what do you do? It's kind of hard to put into like one sentence, right? But yeah. I kind of easily tell them, when you open that door to the dental practice, we do everything.
So the chair, the equipment?
Chairs, your cotton rolls, your toothbrushes, your lights. We literally, we have a whole actually division dedicated to business solutions at Henry Schein as well. So negotiating PPO contracts, doing lease reviews, helping them get more patients, really digging into their overall production and seeing how we can make them more money. So we're much more than just a let me sell you something company. We're very value driven so that our clients understand why they're buying from us.
Yeah. Now, did you come up with this idea of starting this group?
The study club?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually what I did was, I've created a kind of a portfolio where I'm a one-stop shop for everything dental. And yeah, it's kind of neat, right? And
you rascal.
So, yeah, it's like there's kind of a joke behind, before my clients do anything, they'll ask me first because I have a solution for that. So I literally have dental specific CPAs, dental specific attorneys, dental specific financial institutions to start your product, dental specific financial advisors, you name it, I've got it. And so I have this whole presentation even that I've started for doctors that are looking to do startups. And I sit with them for an hour now. We're in this whole quarantine thing. And so I used to sit down with people and have coffee and go through this PowerPoint. And now we're doing Zoom share screens. And, it's pretty unique in the point that a lot of people's business is down during this time. And, I don't want to, not be aware of obviously that's going on. But what's pretty crazy is I'm actually thriving in this environment because I've looked at other ways on how to get ahead. And it's just by being there for people, educating them and adding value. So to take a step back, when I started the study club, my great friend, Rob Malandrucolo, who's in the practice solutions department at Bank of America, specific to dentists, actually was there for me and, provided me space for my clients to come in at no charge to me, provided the food. I flew out this company, Cirrus Consulting, from Toronto to come talk about lease negotiations, and the list goes on. So that's really how it all started.
I mean, it's brilliant because too many reps focus only on transaction. If I do this, I get something.
Yeah.
But you took the long view, but that's built up the relationship.
Yes. And to add to that, not to interrupt you, but the reality is that those transactional reps that aren't adding value, you have e-commerce business coming in from all over, gray market, black market, and clients start to wonder, why are we buying from you? And at the end of the day, that's why I'll take a step back from myself and just focus on my company. Henry Schein has invested millions of dollars in our business solutions to help our clients. and then realize, hey, they did a lot for me. I should be buying from them, right? And then price isn't necessarily part of the conversation anymore.
And it's certainly not the only thing.
Correct.
Right, because they want to grow their business. They don't want to,
Yes.
comparison shop on every little trinket that fills up
Correct.
their office.
Correct. But if you're not adding value, they are.
Right. You're just a clerk,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
And you're either hounding them to try and get additional business or just responding to their request.
Exactly. And you know what was really cool is I actually had one of my clients call me right before we hopped on this call. I'm like, listen, I really got to go. Like, I'll call you in an hour. And he's rattling off all these like 10 things that he wanted me to do for him. He's like, are you going to remember this? And I was like, doctor, if I can remember 200 of my office's staff members' names, I can remember the 10 things you just told me.
Yeah.
So he was pretty impressed.
So, I mean, did this just come about from you, meeting the kind of entry level dentists, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
got into their world?
Yeah. My first thought was, are these 40, 50, 60-year-old established clients really going to want to listen to some kid out of Wisconsin who had no dental background? But what's really cool about dentistry, I feel, is that you can never stop learning. I learned something new every single day. So I actually had a lot of my clients teach me about dentistry and teach me about products. So now I'm like a product knowledge machine. So, but at that beginning stage, they had no reason to buy from me except for price. So I had to create that
A
value.
reason.
And in my head, it was focusing on those younger dentists that I could grow with over the next 20, 30 years of their career and build that value along the way. And it's really proven to be successful. And it took me a solid 3 to 5 years to feel really comfortable. But at year 7, I'll say I'm still not comfortable, but way more comfortable than the beginning. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, because I mean, the younger dentists were clearly closer to your age, and not only your age, but kind of where you are in life,
Yeah.
what you want to
Yeah.
do with your free time. And, they also feel like, they're working for the man and they someday want their own thing.
Yeah.
And they're kind of now, okay, I know how to clean teeth and fill cavities. I need to learn about the business.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and everybody thinks their situation's unique. Like you're the CPA for the dentist, the financial.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. And I'm not saying, hey, dentists shouldn't, consult with their colleagues, but because a lot of dentists don't know business, when they go to their colleagues and ask for advice on how to do certain things business focused, sometimes I feel like it might not necessarily be the best advice and they just want someone to do what they did. Whereas you get someone like myself who has been in well over 1,000 practices over the last 7 years, I actually like to think I know a thing or two. So the funny thing is, yeah, I work with these younger dentists, but I've now already the last couple of years created a name where the established doctors now they're asking to work with me because they want the value too, and they're willing to change their practice.
And they know that you're not just there to sell product.
You got it.
That, you've been around for 7 years, that you understand the ecosystem. And that's really kind of what I've called that in my book, the ecosystem strategy, where you don't just focus on the problem you solve, you focus on everything around it.
You got it. Exactly. Yeah, there's never, a lot of people might go into their offices and talk about sports, the weather, or whatever it is. But,
nice.
The same guy, ironically, who called me moments ago, last time I was in his office to check up on him, right after COVID was kind of loosening up a bit, he's like, aren't you going to sell me on something today? And I was like, you know what? I was honestly trying to be a bit conscious of the environment we're in, but hey, maybe you need a CAD cam. He's like, he's like, here we go. Now he's like, all right, get out. Right. So, but yeah, I don't enter an office without thinking to talk to them about something that could help enhance their business.
Right. And I think too many people look at that rapport, relationship building as just sports, weather, social life, whatever it is you have in common. And that's fine. That's a good 5-minute warm, icebreaker.
Yeah.
But what I always found was everybody wants to talk about their career. You know,
Yes.
they having problems with their manager. They don't know whether to go out on their own or partner.
Constantly. The second that you get them by themselves, they're willing to share their entire life with you. And that is when you connect. There is
Yes.
never a better conversation than to talk about what's keeping you up at night. How can I help? Oh, wait, hey, did you know I actually have a solution for that? Now we're best friends, right?
Right. Yeah. And even just being that therapist,
Yes.
that sounding board, that, feedback loop, because, it's hard to find people who will listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the
Agreed.
simplest thing in the world.
Yeah. So, and there are a lot of companies out there, like I said, the, online and, maybe just telesales and stuff like that. And I personally can't, I don't understand how someone can create a relationship with a voice. You really have to go into the office physically, introduce yourself, and maintain that cycle. Keep seeing them, keep getting to know them, keep learning, keep building, and that's really how you become successful.
And did you get any friction from home office about this strategy?
No, I mean, what's funny is they, you know with our business solutions kind of department, they were doing these things, right? It's just that I kind of branded myself as this person who is a one-stop shop, and I've focused on each of those solutions. We don't have in-house attorneys or in-house CPAs, and we don't actually have our own contractors at Henry Schein. So by me building these relationships with these outside parties, we refer back and forth. And believe me, I wouldn't use them if I didn't know that they did great work. And the
Right.
second they don't do great work, you find someone who does, right?
Yeah. And how much of this can you do on social, online versus in person?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have my Instagram spelled out New York Dental Consultant, which has gained a lot of attention actually over the last couple of years since I started it. So I'll post testimonials on there, new build outs that I've done, so people can see the kind of work that me and my specialists do. And also with that Facebook, the FYI Study Club, between those two platforms, that is how I feel I can maintain a lot of the relationships and show them material without showing them individually.
Products, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I can do that much online and over the phone, but realistically, when they want to have a deeper conversation, I feel a lot better having it one-on-one in person, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what are dentists like as people? I mean, I would think that they aren't the most warm and
No, dentists are people too, right? And they're actually great people. And because I didn't know anyone when I moved out here, the majority of my friends really are my clients. So one really important thing to note is when a lot of my colleagues say, "How are you friends with your clients?" And I'm like, I really am friends with them. Like, we're friends. We go out, we talk about personal things, and I really do think that that's another reason why I am a lot closer with my clients, is because I have built that friendly relationship.
yeah, and you're all kind of in the same period of life, which is
Yeah,
good, right? Have similar interests personally as well as professionally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't mind going out in the city sometimes. I actually just purchased a condo in New Jersey on the other side of the Hudson River.
Yep.
So it's my nice 15-minute commute into the city, which is the bulk of my business. But I also work in Northern Jersey. I travel up to Westchester. I'm in Brooklyn, Long Island. So I'm a little all over the place, but it's nice to go out in the city with them sometimes. So.
Yeah. And how does like your boss and management view this? Do they like it or
Oh,
did
they love it. Hey, listen, if you are management, the thing that you want the most is for your sales reps to show numbers, right? And I'm not crossing any foul boundaries by anything that I do. I never step on my colleagues' toes. So actually, I know for a fact that they love what I've been doing and how I've branded myself within the company.
yeah. And can this scale? Does the company support that, or is it like in the technology space, the territories get chopped every year?
How do you mean? Would they want more reps focusing on business
Right.
solutions and
They,
such? Do you
they
mean?
like
Oh, Absolutely. I mean, it's been a focus over the years. We want to be known as that company that adds value. We do not want to be a transactional company whatsoever, because then you're just like everybody else.
Yeah. And is there much competition in this space?
Yeah, I think I'll probably refrain from naming
You're
the
right. I
exact
don't.
companies, but dental companies are there. That we have a lot of competition. But when you are a full service dealer that is the one adding value, at the end of the day, price is obviously always to be considered. But when you add that much more value to the transaction, usually the client is willing to spend a little more in certain cases to get the better service.
Yeah, because your competition, they're probably just going in, dropping a brochure off with the receptionist and seeing if they can get, 15 minutes of the dentist's time.
A lot of them, yeah. And what's great, and it always hits home, is when I walk into an office and they're like, this person, that person try to come into the office, and Susie at the front desk knows that they don't let anyone pass the front desk but you. And I'm like, yeah, Susie, like, so that's a really great feeling. It is.
Yeah. And how did you do it at first? Because, they sell their time,
Yeah.
right? Every time I'm at a dentist, it's like 4 chairs and 4 different rooms.
Yeah.
And the dentist just goes by because they want to maximize their time.
So there's a lot of good probing questions that you can ask. Like, Henry Schein has the number one practice management software in the world called Dentrix. So, through my own time, and as well as what the company has taught us over the years, little tricks with the software. So since a lot of the offices would have a software like Dentrix, I might go in and say, hey, did you know you could do this with Dentrix? And it's a very complex software where there's no way you can know everything about it. So me mentioning something that could help them be more efficient, they're like, wow, something. So maybe I'll pick your brain and ask you if you know more. So that right there, I've now got my time.
Yeah.
If I just go in trying to sell cotton rolls, they're like, well, hey, I actually just bought that from 10 different companies.
Right. Cool. And how long did it, and how long did it take to do this? Was it just
Yeah, I honestly think I mentioned earlier, like 3 to 5 years is really what it took to make me feel I got this,
yeah,
and like, I was cocky at the end of my first year. You get rookie of the year. It's a really nice accomplishment. And, I won a couple other awards in between, which are really high caliber awards, which is really nice. But, product knowledge, I think, has a lot to do with it. And then having the business acumen behind it to support, you know, you trying to guide them is equally as important. So 3 years, 3 years.
3 years? And
Yeah.
yeah, generally, how many dentists do you have in your network?
Oof. I probably have about 200 accounts on my run, sort of speak. But how many that you're dealing with actively is kind of another story. But if we're talking about how many phone calls, text messages, emails that I get a day, it's my girlfriend will hate me for saying it, but I'm never off,
Yeah,
right? So I wake up at 7:30 in the morning. Some might say that's a little late in the day, actually, but I usually don't go to bed until 1 a.m. because I am working all
yeah,
day and all night, and I am working weekends.
yeah,
So, having said that, when I moved out here originally and I didn't know anybody, I really think that played in my favor because I really didn't go out much. I was up till 5 in the morning burning through invoices, creating like comparison spreadsheets, being like, hey, look, I'm cheaper. Right?
yeah.
So that's how I started.
And out of that 200 or so dentists, how many are customers versus just people in the network?
Yeah, I would say probably about 120 are like really solid clients of mine. And
Right.
I'm averaging somewhere around 10 to 15 new build outs a year at this point, which is really unique. So with those new build outs are those young dentists, which I'm going to be building those 30-year relationships with.
Yeah. And do you need to do any cold outbound anymore?
I don't need to, but I actually like to.
Yeah.
And when my boss gives me not a lead, but like maybe a lost account, we might call it, who might be buying from someone else, I get really excited because I love a good win, right? Especially if it's against my competition. If I walk in and show value and they switch, I know that they didn't switch based on price. They
Right.
based off the fact that I could better their business.
And what drives you personally?
Really, you know, success. I
Yeah.
really think success drives me. I love winning. I'm not. I think I'd be lying if I said I'm like cocky at this point, but I try to stay modest because I know where I came from.
Yeah.
But the reason why I brought my dad up initially is because uh, my dad was my hero, and unfortunately, he passed away 10 years ago from liposarcoma. But when he passed away, and here I'm getting chills right now. When I got Rookie of the Year and got on stage and stood in front of 4,000 of my colleagues, I couldn't help but start to tear up because I'm like, Dad, thank you. So
And
that's
is that competition internally against people as well as externally?
no, I don't. You know, yeah, I compete internally against my
Yeah.
my peers and such, and I think I compete with myself as well. I think that I take myself a little too seriously sometimes, and sometimes need to take it down a notch because I do take this profession very seriously, and I take my relationships very seriously
Yeah.
as well.
And how would you answer somebody? Well, that just takes too long, or that's too much work.
Uh, yeah, not everybody can be successful at the end of the like as successful, right? Because there's certain accounts, there's certain wins, like DSOs, dental service organizations, which are becoming increasingly more popular. Not everybody can get those.
Yeah.
I've got a few, and as they scale up, they build a few more locations, and that's more business. But I truly believe that if someone decides to set their priorities straight, I want to win. I want to be successful in this business. I want to grow personally and professionally. You can be successful, and success isn't always it isn't always a number. It's not always a salary. It could be just a personal goal. Like, I'm not much of a runner, but the only way that I survive running is by focusing on like the stop sign ahead,
The
right?
next
That
one.
that big tree, and then like eventually I can't make it to that big tree, so I track back. But I try, right? And at least I try.
Yeah.
Some people don't try.
Right. People, they want to come up with the excuses of why it's not a good use of time.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah,
And,
but not it's not for everybody, right? So
well, and that's it, because a lot of people would look at New York and New Jersey coming from Wisconsin as, you know, what I hear is those New Yorkers aren't the friendliest people in the world.
I heard that, and but ironically, my friends and family always said you would do. Brian, I got to show you a picture of me another time. I used to have hair down to here, and
So you
when I
just put it
moved,
all on top.
yeah, I just just right there, and then right here too on my face. I never really had a beard, but I was this kid out of Wisconsin, and New Yorkers are New Yorkers, but I think I've really adapted.
Yeah.
So much so that my closest friends are like, you've changed. Like you talk fast, you like interrupt conversations, you don't say thank you when they hold the door. I'm kidding. That's not all New
Right.
Yorkers, but you got me.
Cool. Hey, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to follow you?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think on Instagram, the New York Dental Consultant, that's a great place to find me, as well as the FYI Study Club NYC on Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. You can find my name, ALANWITHALL. So, Brian, it's honestly been a pleasure. I really do appreciate you having me on here and having the ability to share my story. It's been great.